Hello and welcome again to the Senate Committee on Government Operations meeting for Tuesday, February 18th. And we are happy to welcome in another White. This is Rebecca White, the Risk Management Director of Operations for the Agency of Administration. And we appreciate you moving your schedule today to talk to us a bit about the budget request for fiscal year 2026. So I don't know whether we went around the room. Do you know everybody in the room?
No,
Okay,
I do not.
let's do that.
Okay, I'm Senator Larry Carter from Orange County.
Nice to meet you.
Senator Allison Clarkson from Windsor County will be joining us momentarily. I'm Brian Collmore, representing the Rutland District. This is Linda Lehman, our committee assistant.
Tanya Behovsky, Chittenden Central District.
And Rebecca White, Windsor County.
Nice to meet you, Rebecca White.
This is so bizarre to have
It's-
Rebecca White.
we got-
I know.
And two Senator Whites.
Exactly.
Tuesday.
Yes, Senator White was just
Smart women.
warmer.
Amen.
Yes.
So welcome.
Thank you so much. For the record, my name is Rebecca White, Agency of Administration, Office of Risk Management. And just as an intro, because I believe that you just wanted me here to introduce myself, talk about the programs, and just answer any questions you may have.
Yeah.
So I thought a good introduction would be just snippets from the budget book that Sarah Clark and Nick Kramer presented last week to you. Because in this book, I don't know if you have read it. Unfortunately, the print is tiny and I was unable to blow it up more. But it's the program metrics, which is from Justin Kinney's office. He does the programmatic reporting, which is great. So I did some metrics for this, which I thought might interest you. Risk management handles basically several different, programs. We handle workers' compensation for state employees, general liability for all claims brought against the state, auto liability for our employees driving state vehicles or non-state vehicles. And also we handle all of the insurance for the state, such as flood insurance, which I think you might have questions about, property insurance, aviation insurance for our airports, foster parent insurance for the foster parents, terrorism insurance, cyber insurance, many different, types of crime insurance, lots of different types of insurance that we handle. I put out an RFP for a broker to actually secure the insurance for us, and they're very good at getting excellent rates, which is what I'll get into because we had a great year with our insurance rates. But I just, in terms of the handout that I gave you from the budget book on what we handle. So basically for the workers' compensation, we contract with a third-party administrator called Corvell to adjust and manage the claims. It's all state money. I know, it's so tiny. I was unable to blow it up, but I can. Without getting a huge sheet of paper, so.
I'm able to blow it up.
Oh, good. See, on the computer you can. Copier, it was very difficult. In the old days, I was able to do it, so I think that they changed it.
I know, on
Yeah.
the old copiers,
They
you could
changed,
expand.
you could. Now you can't. I don't know why. But with the workers' comp, so we're looking for good measurement and metrics. And I found that pure premium is a nice metric because that measures the total workers' comp costs per $100 of state payroll. And for workers' compensation, so it covers any injury or workplace illness for an employee if it's job related, work related. And since, as you can imagine, we have so many different types of jobs that employees are doing, runs the gamut. So for this, and we are completely self-insured. So the state pays, if there's a catastrophic claim, we pay, all of it.
Is it the insurance company adjuster that determines what's an appropriate on the job injury?
It's basically by statute. Department of Labor has the statutes and they also regulate workers' compensation. So it's, yeah.
It's in our committee.
Yeah, and they're great, and it's basically if it arises out of and in the course of employment, then it would be a covered claim.
Okay.
Could be physical, could be mental health, could be, say, asbestos exposure, lots and lots of things. Trip and fall, auto accident.
Senator Clarkson.
So Rebecca, forgive me for being late. I just.
No, it's okay.
With our committee. Do you handle the risk management for the entire administration for all agencies and departments?
Yes.
Yes, it's
Every single one.
So you're
Yes.
keen on this for everything from Department of Transportation workers
Yeah.
to A&R workers to every
DOC, the
gas
gamut.
department.
Yes. So it's actually quite fascinating.
And what, if I may just follow, what were the workers' comp claims last year? What was the total?
How many? It's actually in this little teeny tiny.
That was the 433. I mean, that shocks me. We only have number of measures reported.
It is, well, actually, wait a second.
It's on the second
Number
page?
of, it's the second to last row, number of workers' comp claims filed. In 2024, it was 692 claims.
Where are you
It's,
saying?
it's right
Oh,
down
the next page.
here.
Oh, I see.
The next page, I'm sorry.
No, you're
It
good.
has all the metrics and it's the second row from the bottom. And it says here, number of WC claims filed. Cause we're measuring it. So I have it.
Number of, I can actually see
Yeah.
that now that you say that.
Yeah, 692. Our goal was 675, so we didn't meet the goal. But see how it's usually
692.
700 the last year, you know, it was almost, it was 1,000 from 2018 to, you know, 2019. So it's in that range and it is basically any type of thing from a slip and fall, auto accident, you know, somebody getting assaulted, lots, like a corrections officer or a mental health worker. We get those, unfortunately.
Yeah, the employees even.
Senator White.
How, so there's a difference between a claim filed and a claim granted? I don't know if there's a.
Accepted.
Yeah,
Accepted.
Yes. Yeah.
What of the claims that are filed are accepted?
I could get that percent. I think it's quite high.
Yeah. that
It's
would be
pretty
nice.
high, but let me get that.
Yeah,
That- Yeah, it is. It's quite high. I mean, sometimes people will file a claim. Well, we get some, unfortunately, where maybe somebody comes in and they just have a seizure or something,
Yeah,
not work related. They could have had that at home.
Yeah.
Or they have like a heart attack, maybe, but they could have had it. It's not due to the job.
mhm.
But if somebody has, say, some stressful, horrible situation, and then they have a heart attack, that could be related.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, the COVID years, and I'm saying
Yes.
20 and 21,
Yeah,
they are not measurably different from the years before or after.
it's not,
And yet, if I'm remembering, and I was here during COVID,
yeah,
people worked from home quite a bit. So,
yeah, they did.
if they're, okay, let's just think of an example. If they're at home, but they're on the job, so to
Mhm.
speak, and they trip over their living room couch and fall down and hurt themselves, are they covered? Are they?
Yes,
It is, okay.
yes. We had a claim like that. Someone was
Huh.
working at home. The work phone rang and she ran to get the phone and tripped over a cord and really hurt herself. And it was actually covered.
Hmm.
So, you know, and the thing is with people having unsafe workplaces, like at home, you know, at the office, we have our ergonomic setup, everything's great, the nice chairs. But sometimes at home, people will be like balancing on, you know, or sitting on the couch. And
It's make do. It
Yeah.
isn't necessarily designed for what they're doing.
exactly. So
I just-
that's the problem.
Thought that was interesting that you think,
Mhm.
I would have expected it to plummet
Yeah, Yeah.
because there's
So
fewer
that's
people in
higher.
the office.
Well,
Well, no, it's not higher.
913, I thought.
it was
913 in 2000.
2020. Yeah,
2020 is 913.
yeah,
And then 961 in
Yeah.
2021.
yeah.
So it's like A third higher.
It is. And then it went down to 546 the next year, which is, and that
Much
was
better.
creeping up. The thing is that most of the claims that we get, bless you, are, and I can give you percentages because I think it's pretty interesting, from our actuary who does this for us. 22% of the workers' comp claims are from Department of Corrections.
Yeah.
And they're in person, they have to be.
Oh, yeah.
And it's everything from they're running to an emergency, they slip and fall, or the floor is wet from mopping, they fall, or the assaults.
And what are the next percents? What's the
The
next,
next one down is transportation,
and what percent is that?
21%.
Almost half.
Yeah, yeah. And they obviously, we do this to bill them, you know, their
Yeah, and
premium.
what are the rest?
Then we go to public safety.
Oh,
What's that?
That's Vermont State.
No, I know, but what
Oh,
percent?
oh, what is it? Of course you know what that, it's 12.5. And those types of claims are more, say, auto accident when they're in the pursuit of, you know, folks and they might have an accident, or going in the woods, chasing after people, they trip, or altercations when they're trying to arrest them.
Yeah.
It's that type of thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
we have active imagination.
Yeah, you can, well, there's so many. You know, you've seen it all. And
Yeah.
then after that. So now it goes to 6.1 is Department of Mental Health. And that's the hospital. And they, unfortunately, most of their claims are really getting assaulted.
The ED, yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. It's not an easy place to work. And then after that, we've got building and general services at 3.7%. And those are the folks who are out there shoveling the snow, doing the maintenance outside, or the custodians. They get, you know, just from the vacuum cleaner and stuff, maybe, or lifting the trash bags.
Yep.
Hoisting it over, and maybe they shouldn't be like throwing it like that, they hurt the shoulder, stuff like that. Plus, it doesn't help our older workforce. Because if you're a custodian and you're like 55 years old doing it, it's difficult, you know, physical labor. So,
They ought to be 74.
I was
hey,
gonna say, I'm not sure this
Different
table has
thing.
much sympathy for that
no,
55-year-old.
Well,
I do.
With some
That's
notable
I have so much sympathy.
Senator White.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
It's empathetic.
I'm so empathetic. Well, I really appreciate you actually breaking down the numbers. I had the experience, my husband had a workers' comp claim through the
Okay.
town because he herniated a disc while lifting a propane tank. Which, you know, very
Yeah.
grateful for that system, and it was
Yeah.
able to help him get the support he needed.
Mhm.
So I really appreciate that you do that work and that we have a process to do those claims, because it is extremely scary to injure yourself on the job.
It's terrible.
Extremely scary.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
my main question was less on what are the numbers of claims and how many are coming in,
Mhm.
but I really appreciated that you started with, here's what our target is and what we seek to
Mhm.
get to,
Mhm.
because the only reason I know that you work where you work is I see your name on those little, on the big
Yes.
plastic signs that
Yeah.
tell us what our rights are.
Yes.
So I'm wondering what your office is tasked with for preventing and reaching that target,
Yeah.
amongst our workforce.
Sure, that's a great question. Thank you. I'm also in charge of the workplace safety part of this, which is part of the premium that we charge all the departments. I think maybe 6% of that has to go by statute to workplace safety and prevention. So for that, we have someone, and he's fantastic. He does ergonomic assessments. And he could actually even come here and do them for all of you. Yeah.
Don't get on the house floor. There's
Because you are all covered by workers' comp as well, you know, so, because you could get a, carpal tunnel, whatever, or get the
Headaches,
chair.
just does it deal with the
Well,
headache?
not a head, what, from this, well,
Therapy
maybe, but
bills. Actually, that would be great. Every legislator who has to go into therapy as a result of.
no.
Or having a split.
think we all should be in therapy anyway, right?
I actually have, as a legislator, used workers' comp.
Okay.
Because I fell down the stairs at the state house.
Oh,
Yep.
jeez.
And so my question is, in a building like this one with workplace safety, like it's a historic building and
Yeah.
there actually are some rather dangerous.
Mhm.
How do you balance that? Because a lot of our state buildings are historic buildings. And
Yes.
maybe not all of them are also museums, but it seems like there may be kind of a rub there.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think that, and especially with things like the Americans with Disabilities Act, you know, you've got these beautiful stairways, but they're, you know, old fashioned, crooked and stuff. We have elevators, you know, through the ADA. Or we've got the, what David She said, the beautiful rugs on the carpet, you know, on the stairs, so that people aren't slipping, hopefully, as they go down the stairs. But it is it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult. You know, I agree. Like, just looking at this, you've got those beautiful chairs, but they might not be the best for your back and sitting all day.
They're certainly better than the house chair.
Yes.
Yeah, those seem
And some
very,
of us.
yes, and that's a good pillow. That's good to do that because,
So are you in charge of our wellness program too?
no, that's HR.
That's HR.
They have a
Now
great
that's
program.
wonderful.
They have a wonderful program. But for us, so we do the ergonomic assessments and risk management pays for it, but the department is expected, if the recommendation is, say, get a new keyboard or wrist rest or even a new chair or sit stand desk, that the department pays for that out of the state contracts. But we try to get the, you know, reasonable cost. We're not gonna say, you know, the most expensive.
So you do assessments on
Uh-huh.
ergonomics, you do
Mhm.
assessments on prevention, on
Mhm.
workplace safety?
Yes.
Wow.
By request. I mean, it's on our website. So if a manager or the employee want to do that, that they just send in a request. Or say they have a workers' comp claim and they need some sort of accommodation. We even had Brian, who does this, go out and do an ergonomic evaluation of somebody's truck. Because he hit his head, he's a tall guy, and he hit his head at the top of the truck as he went over the frost heave or something. So he kind of did some sort of an assessment to see how could it be safer for him. I don't know what he came up with, but I thought that was amazing.
Helmet.
Oh, yeah.
Like that.
Helmet now.
Cut a hole in the roof.
I know.
The other things that he does are like workflow, say for the BGS Postal Service, they have,
Huh.
you know, with a mail coming in and
Yeah.
through the various stations to have it going out the door, better workflow, because I think they were doing a lot of bending and all that.
You're gonna come in, yeah.
Yeah, like conveyor belts or however they do it, so people aren't getting hurt. So we do that too.
Well,
Because we don't want people to get hurt. You know, we want to make it better. Corrections, we have a lot of work there that we go there quite a bit to help the employees with their, you know, workstations and that type of thing. Because that's a tough one. And their chairs, that's a big issue over there. So workers' comp is huge. I mean, it's very active. Very active. And, you know, one claim is too many. I really don't get it. And especially when they have to have surgery. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible.
So I assume you have different goals each year. I mean, it
Mhm.
seems as though largely through what we do, there are more and more state employees. We continue to fund positions that work.
Yeah,
So there's more people,
right.
which to me translates into a greater risk, but
Yes.
maybe that's not true.
Well, if we, well,
I think we're down to 6,000 employees, that said.
Mhm.
Yeah,
oh, really?
I thought it was.
I thought we
like
were 8, but I think
Oh.
Beth came in and said it was 6.
Oh, wow.
I- so-
They will spell check. It's happily a fact.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Larry has the report in his desk.
oh, interesting.
But we do have many hundreds of open positions.
Right.
Oh, that's true.
That's the
There
thing.
are open positions.
But the thing is, say for corrections, if we hire more corrections employees, it's probably better. Because
It'll be
having
safer,
fewer,
yeah.
yeah, they're just exhausted, the long shifts
All
and
the
then
time,
all
yeah,
that stuff.
yeah.
So, but normal, and then if you hire more admin people, the risk of any conflict is very low. So it can be higher to higher. It depends, like more troopers, you think that could be good.
Mhm.
Because then fewer are on overtime. It is, when you're tired, you're more likely to have an accident, really. So.
But
it
the
could go either
premiums
way.
adjust. The more claims we put in, the worse off we are.
Yeah, the premium, well, the actuary looks at 5 years of past claims.
Okay.
How much we pay. Then he looks at the payroll, say for corrections, what their payroll is. Then he does a risk factor number for like corrections, transportation,
Public safety.
would pay more. They get like an increase.
So they pay, that department pays.
Yeah.
Increase.
Yeah, they would, versus my department, it's pretty low because we're just admin folks. So that's how he does it, and it's similar for the billing for the general liability claims. Because they look at 5 years of past claims, they look at the like budget of the department, and then they put in a factor. Corrections, again, they tend to get sued more often than other departments, so they pay more, basically, or they have more claims.
Mhm.
And the same with transportation. So actually for general liability, corrections is about the same, 22%. Transportation has 16% of the claims for the costs. And that's because we get a ton of potholes. It's like they're coming in frequently,
Mhm.
or people will file a claim that's saying you should have patched the pothole, my car got flat tires, that type of a thing. And then also we have DCF, unfortunately, they are the target of lawsuits and claims. And public safety again. So it's really those groups. And for the general liability group, we work very closely with the Attorney General's office because they provide the defense for the claims. And they're great. So, yeah, so it's either folks can file a claim saying, pothole, please replace my tires. And then say if Corval goes to Corval and they say, well, no, because we didn't have any notice of that. We didn't know, you're the first one, so we're not covering it. And then they get angry and they file a lawsuit, then the Attorney General's office gets involved and they defend the claim. So we work with them very closely and they've been fantastic.
Mhm.
But this would only be a state employee filing a pothole claim.
No, any Vermonter. So these general liability claims are anyone at all that sues the state.
So, okay, the pothole
Yeah.
example is really impactful because I have had, for example, people who are not constituents.
Right.
But who have driven through.
Yeah.
When I was on our select board, we would get emails saying, I had to get a realignment because
Right.
of your road.
Yeah.
And our answer was always, sorry,
Right.
like there's nothing that
Yeah.
you can do.
Right. Right.
And then it basically would go away from there.
Mhm.
So people do, when they can sue the state for
Yeah,
that. And
Yeah. Believe it or
mean-
not.
how frequently are they successful?
Well, if it's a state road versus a town road, or, like say it's I-89
Mhm.
and there's a big pothole there. And the key is that if AOT had noticed about it and didn't do anything, so
Okay.
that's the negligence part.
Yeah.
But if we didn't know, then, okay, we can't do for everybody the first time, but if there's like 10 people that call and say, hey, I just had a realignment because of that pothole, and you didn't bother to fix it, that's where we pay, so.
And how that I had not fully
Mhm.
understood. I had thought, oh, you're out of luck.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Well, maybe for the town, because I don't know how many well, maybe the town does,
Yeah.
but possibly you guys have a different insurance and all that stuff, but
Or we
we're
were
liable.
So, okay, so you are liable. Are all states liable? Like, do any
I think
states have?
so.
Yeah.
I think so.
There's not a way for us to make ourselves unliable?
That would be nice. but
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Wow.
I mean, we get it even worse if someone, say there's a road hazard that we did not fix and someone gets injured because of it,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, the potholes, it's unfortunate too. Nobody wants to have their tire, deflated because of a pothole.
Or have an accident.
Or have an accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
And while I appreciate we don't want to be liable, I think maybe we do have a responsibility.
well, we have a responsibility.
To the people of Vermont to maintain safe roads and
Mhm.
infrastructure.
Mhm.
You should drive 302 on a motorcycle.
Yeah, that would,
It's like
yeah,
trying to avoid
Yeah.
potholes.
exactly. Not good. Not good.
You've done that probably.
No, not on motorcycle.
No,
No.
with your
In a
car.
car, yeah. Did it coming in today.
Yeah, like,
So we've got those types of claims. Then but the interesting thing is about the general liability claims is that we had 140 claims filed last year.
Yep.
In 2024.
Okay, so where are you? now?
Okay, so now I'm at
From the bottom.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, I see 140.
Yeah,
Very hard, but
140.
I see it.
Target's 120.
Number of UI.
Yeah.
No,
GL, so that's general liability. So that's anything from someone coming into the state house slipping and falling to someone suing for harassment. It runs the gamut, but that's where those are. And basically, then I'm looking at the pure premium, which is 2 down. That's the general liability cost per $100 of payroll, which we've done quite well, actually. So it's 0.53. So the departments pay like 53 cents for $100 of payroll for the general liability, which is great to measure it. But it's a little bit, over our target.
Much better than some years, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've done really much better. That's for sure. And the workers' comp is right at the target. We've got, it's almost $1. It's 98 cents per $1 million of payroll. That's our frequency. So these are very interesting. And then for the auto claims, it went way down, I think because of COVID, people were just at home.
Yeah.
And now it's up again. We're at 83. Target was 80. Our cost, though, the departments get billed $447 per auto that they own for the insurance. And it's gone way up because we've had some severe accidents, unfortunately. So that's why it went up. Very serious accidents, and that's why, things have gone up a bit. But anyway, I thought that might be interesting. Looking at those numbers are pretty neat. But I wanted to give some good news about the insurance costs because I saw that you asked about the flood insurance.
Yeah.
And why it went down and everything. So that was,
Which is a puzzle.
it's incredible. So it went down. One reason was we have an aggressive insurance broker that goes all over to London, Lloyd's of London markets, all over the country to get the best insurance cost and coverage for us. And since last year, believe it or not, because in that 2023 flood, we got paid from the insurance company about $50 million, which is great. Even though the costs were much higher than that. So we thought, oh, brother, the insurance cost is just going to go through the roof. But believe it or not, there are more entrants to the property insurance market. So they had a big competition for our business, which was fantastic. So we got $5 million extra in flood coverage. So now we have $50 million in flood insurance. Before we had 45 million. And they lowered the insurance by $1 million for the property in the floods this year. So it's great. We'll just hope that it stays. Who knows? Because the insurance market is really having a tough time with all of those, the wildfires in California, what happened, North Carolina and here. And they do nationally, because I know that you brought it up the other day about, the floods in the national news.
Yeah.
It is. And the insurance experts are looking at Vermont because we are vulnerable with the climate change.
Senator White?
Thank you for saying the word climate change.
Yes.
You've hit that's my
Yeah.
big topic.
Yeah.
The reason I brought up this conversation, and I'm not sure if this is kind of a philosophical perspective rather than or even like a looking out into the future perspective. So if you don't want to comment based on how you're employed, feel free to not. But my main concern is that we are going to see in the next 10, 20 years, the collapse of our insurers due to climate change, and that we as a state, as so often happens when a service becomes unprofitable, government takes it over.
Right.
Do you see a chance of that or a forecast for that? And if you were in our shoes, what steps would you be taking now?
That's a great question.
Thank you for that question,
Yeah.
Rebecca, because that is certainly
Yeah.
a key concern.
Yeah. Well, one thing, were you talking about property insurance and flood insurance in particular?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what we have now, because I thought that I heard the question when I was watching the YouTube video, and the National Flood Insurance Program through FEMA does provide homeowners and the state, municipalities, the state governments with low-cost insurance for buildings that are in the flood zone.
Yeah.
So we buy that.
It's not low cost for anybody but you. I've never heard any
Oh, really?
constituent of mine say it's low cost. It's
Oh,
very
Well, you have to
expensive.
is it?
Most
Okay.
folks don't, my understanding is most Vermonters don't qualify is the main issue, is that
Oh.
your town might have qualified, but your
Right.
home, you have to be, like, even where my house is on Hazen Street, we technically don't qualify.
Yeah, but I have a lot of homeowners in Woodstock, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
They're along the river. All of them
Right.
are in the floodplain.
Mm.
Right.
Okay.
All my neighbors.
And they
On
don't
rivers.
qualify because I had heard that for NFI, for the insurance that we have, if you're in a floodplain, you do qualify.
You may qualify, but it's
Oh,
incredibly expensive.
expensive. Okay.
Isn't don't you have constituents for that? Where that's okay? Oh, my
Yeah,
God.
we've got
Okay.
Otter Creek that.
So there's multiple already on it.
And the
Okay.
hand and glove piece with FEMA also is they will not give you any financial support unless you agree going forward if you're in floodplain to
Right.
pay for flood
I
insurance.
see.
And flood insurance is so expensive, people then say, oh, it'll be. I can't imagine it's less expensive to fix your house than to pay for flood insurance.
Right.
They make those choices,
Uh-huh.
and two constituents along Otter Creek, you've made that choice.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Yeah, because for us, it's a good deal. It's not expensive. So I don't know. I'll ask the broker about that.
Would you ask
because I
about the
wonder.
personal? Yeah, ask about
Yeah.
private.
And are they giving us a different rate than
Sounds like they must.
individuals?
Maybe they are.
Yeah, because we get this and it's like, okay, this isn't bad. We'll buy it. So I'll find out about that.
Senator Wojciechowski?
No,
Oh, okay.
I thought I had a question, but thank you.
Okay, I was gonna mention, the situation in Florida is
Yes.
somewhat similar.
Yeah.
The private carriers there, and again, you can understand to some degree, if you have an insurance company, you
Yeah,
like to turn a profit at the end of the year.
of course. Yeah,
Whether or not that's a lot of profit or a little profit,
Yeah.
I guess is a matter of some discussion. But the problem there is, even if you can get it.
Yeah.
It's very expensive.
yeah.
And
That's what I
for a
heard.
lot of people, they are now taking whatever savings they can get, putting into a bank account.
Yeah.
And holding it
Yeah.
so if they get
Escrow.
flooded or a hurricane.
Yeah.
They'll pay for their own repairs because
Right.
it's a lot cheaper and better in some cases, but. So it isn't just that it's expensive. In some cases, they can't find anybody that will carry them.
Right. And California.
For friends and family in California.
California, for sure. I will talk to the broker about that because what I've heard, and I go to conferences and things to just get the latest.
Yeah.
I have heard through, and from what I read, is that the insurance companies don't, they feel secure, I guess, because they
Okay.
feel like they have enough reserves, that they've brought in enough premium. That's the last I heard,
Okay.
so I will.
Really?
That's
I
yeah.
have heard the exact opposite
Really?
from,
Okay.
in the articles I've read about insurance, the insurance industry. That they are actually very unsettled at the moment.
Okay. Let me get an update.
Yeah, because
I'll get an update.
Lloyd's into testing.
I know, that would be nice. Yeah, I will find out about
Now
that
you do have a question.
because,
Well, I would imagine that the rates are different, just thinking about risk, you know, an individual doesn't have the same capacity as a
Right.
state
Yeah.
to mitigate risk or to
Mhm.
move money around. So I would guess that the rates make sense that they would be different. You know, if we have a building on State Street that floods, we have a whole $9 billion budget that we can move around.
right,
As opposed to if I, who make $50,000 a year, have my $400,000 house flood,
mhm,
I don't have money to move around to fix. So I imagine,
risk for them.
exactly,
right. Then the commercial buildings, these
Right.
big buildings.
right.
Well, that are backed by the state.
Right.
So I would imagine the rates are different, and
Yeah.
I imagine people who are choosing, and I use the term choosing loosely, not to have flood insurance, are choosing because they simply can't afford it. It's not really a choice. It's,
No.
Exactly.
you know, it's, the choices presented to them are bankrupt yourself with flood insurance or don't have flood insurance.
Yeah. 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 It's not a good, well, it's kind of how it was for the health insurance prior to the,
Yeah.
you know, Affordable Care Act. I would think the people
Mhm.
with pre-existing conditions could not afford insurance and they just would go bankrupt or not get the treatment or whatever.
Let's hope we don't go fast.
I think we are.
Yeah.
That there.
Yeah. Scary. But the other good news is about the insurance market for us anyway, is that the, cyber insurance, which have been going through the roof
Mm.
over the years because of all the hacks, the ransomware, all that stuff, is like flattened.
Hmm.
So we didn't pay an increase this year, so that was good. It was huge because every other year it had been
Oh, it's just
more
gone
and more.
up off of it.
And that's critical, obviously. I mean, we have to have that, definitely. So that was interesting. And then the liability insurance did go up. Not as much as it usually does, but again, the insurance companies don't really like to cover governments. Wonder why, you know, because they see, you know, we're targets, we get sued a lot, we have, you know, troopers, you know, corrections, all of that, the red flags. Where, you know,
Yeah.
we're more likely to get hit. So that went up a bit. But the property and flood went down, it's amazing. Terrorism insurance, honestly, went down by half, and it's also very inexpensive, so that's used to be very expensive.
Again,
It's like the
Surprising.
cycle, yeah. Because after 9/11, it was just extremely
Yeah.
expensive to get that.
I didn't even realize states had individual
Mhm.
terrorism insurance.
We
policies.
we have it. It's
interesting.
minimal amount of money, so that's good. And, you know, then many other smaller policies that are built to the departments. So, but that's interesting, and that's, the policy year is the fiscal year, so it's 7/1 to 6/30.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's for everything from, you know, like this building. Covered by the property insurance, covered by the flood insurance.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Have to be quite the flood this building.
It would have to be, because we're up high,
Yes.
thank goodness.
Hey, it made it off Aiken.
Yeah. Fairly close.
Yeah, it
It
did come close though.
did such
Fire.
damage in the pavilion and State Street from 33. It's close.
Incredible.
That's quick
Senator
with
White?
the terrorism insurance.
Yes.
That is so fascinating. I was like, whoa,
Yes.
how does something get deemed? So yeah, how does it get deemed an act of terror? Because honestly, the border patrol situation feels like an act of terrorism based on what we're starting to see come out about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, it has to be deemed an act of terror by the federal government.
So it can't be by our state,
Yeah,
because we do have some state statutes around terrorism.
Wow. But it's an act of-
Yeah, for this coverage, it's called TRIA, it's called,
Wow.
I don't remember.
I cannot imagine being the insurer for the federal government on this question. What an
Well, they're insured for like, World Trade Center.
Ooh,
intriguing.
Well, that,
They had a big lawsuit about that, because it was it one claim or two, because the plane, the two planes.
right.
One claim.
Yeah, so they had a huge suit about that. It was huge. So, but the terrorism, it has to be, I think, like $1 billion worth of damage. So that's why
well, that.
our rate is so low, because,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
we're not in Manhattan.
Yeah.
We're not in Manhattan. So it's not gonna hit that level.
Well, Rebecca, thank you for coming in.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
Great.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah,
And I will get you those answers.
That would be
Rather
great.
Excellent questions.
yeah.
Well, it's very interesting work that you do.
It's fascinating. I'm glad to do it. I'm lucky to be.
How long have you been working with the state on this?
Since 2015, so about 10 years. And before that, I was the risk manager for state of New Hampshire. So that was interesting, very, very cool. And then before that, I was the director of risk management for Dutchess County, New York. So I've done a lot of the public sector risk management, I love it. It's really great. So it's fun. And it's a pleasure to meet you all. And if you.
Same here.
Well, we're glad you're doing it if you were having fun.
I do like it. It's interesting.
Right.
It's, busy and kind of a headache sometimes, but most of the time it's fun.